Daf Yomi, Tractate Zevachim, page 7a. Top of the page with the words L'divrei Rabbi Shimon. Ein nivdin timimim, l'divrei chachamim, nivdin timimim. According to the statement of Rabbi Shimon, they may not be redeemed as long as they are unblemished, since they retain the status of offerings. But according to the statement of the rabbis, they may be redeemed even when they are unblemished, as the court initially stipulates that if they are not needed, they will not assume the status of an offering. Apparently, Rabbi Shimon does not accept a notion that the court can stipulate that there be a delay in the consecration of communal offerings, and the Braita can be adduced as evidence that offerings atone for transgressions committed after their designation as offerings. Ve'od ha'bayim minei Rav Yehoshua Rabbi Zera sirei atzeres shekibel damon b'shnei koisois v'nizrak damoi shel rishon sheni lama hu ba al tuma she'oram ben zrika shel ze leze nizrak damo shel sheni lama hu krevin. And furthermore, continued Rav Yosef, son of Rav Shmuel, one can otherwise infer from the goats sacrificed on Shavuot that an offering can atone for transgressions committed under designation. As Rabbi Yehoshua asked Rabbi Zera, if the goats sacrificed on Shavuot were slaughtered simultaneously, and their blood was collected in 2 cups, and the blood of the first goat was sprinkled, for what sin is the second goat brought? There was no time in the interim for other transgressions to occur. Rabbi Zera answered, it atones for any incident involving impurity that occurred between the sprinkling of the blood of that first goat and the sprinkling of the blood of this second goat. Ad kan lo mibayalei ela. One can infer Rabbi Yehoshua raised a dilemma only about whether or not an offering atones for the violation of a positive mitzvah committed under its slaughter and before the sprinkling of the blood. But with regard to the violation of a positive mitzvah that one committed after the designation of the offering before its slaughter, he did not raise the dilemma, apparently. It was obvious to him that the offering atones for such a violation. Dilma im timselo malkama. The Gemara rejects this proof. Perhaps Rabbi Yirmiyah's dilemma was also with regard to the violations committed after designation. He phrased his question to apply to violations committed after slaughter because he was saying, even if you say that an offering atones for violations committed after designation, does it atone for those violations committed after slaughter? It may be that neither issue was clear to him. Itma, it was stated, Toda sheshachat Hashem todat chavero keshera Rabba amar keshera Abchizama v'sulo. It was stated with regard to a thanks offering that one slaughtered for the sake of another's thanks offering. Rabbah says that it is fit and satisfies its owner's obligation. And Rav Chizda says that it is unfit in this regard. Rabbah amar kashera. Toda Hashem, toda nishkata. Rav Chizda amar b'sula l'shum. Rabbah says it is fit because the thanks offering was slaughtered for the sake of a thanks offering. Rav Chizda says it is unfit because it must be slaughtered for the sake of his own peace offering. Amar Rabba mina la Itanya vasal zevach toda shilamav. ביום הקריבו על זבחו וגומר. אבא חנין אמר משום רבי אליעזר, בא ללמד תודה ששחטה לשם שלמים, כשרה, שלמים שנשחטו לשם תודה, פסולים. מה ההפרש בין זה לזה? תודה קרויה שלמים, ואין שלמים קרויים תודה. Rabbah says, from where do I say that it is fit? It is as it is taught in Braita. The verse states, and the meat of the sacrifice of his thanksgiving peace offering, on the day that he presents his offering, it shall be eaten. Leviticus 7, verses 15 and 16. Okay. By the way, in the PL 89, 17:15 is over here, and 17:16 is over here. There are two connections in the PL 89, which is nice. Leviticus 7:15, the verse states, and the meat of the sacrifice of his thanksgiving peace offering on the day he presents his offering, it shall be eaten. Abba Chanin says in the name of Rabbi Eliezer, the verse comes to teach that a thanksgiving offering that was slaughtered for the sake of a peace offering is fit, whereas a peace offering that was slaughtered for the sake of a thanks offering is unfit. And what is the difference between this offering and that offering? The answer is that a thanks offering is called a peace offering in the verse, but a peace offering is not called a thanks offering. Okay? Shlamim l'shem todah pesula ha-todah. Shlamim l'shem todah pesula ha. Todah Hashem Todah Kasher Amai Lav Dechaverei. Rabbah explains, the Braita indicates that a peace offering that was slaughtered for the sake of a thanks offering is unfit, but a thanks offering that was slaughtered for the sake of some other thanks offering is fit. What is it not referring to the thanks offering of another, teaching that it satisfies its owner's obligation? La, did they? The Gemara responds, no, it is referring to another thanks offering of his own, which he designated to give thanks for another incident of deliverance. The Gemara asks, but if one slaughtered his thanks offering for the sake of another's thanks offering, what is the halacha? Is it unfit? Meaning, does it not satisfy the owner's obligation? If so, rather than teaching that a peace offering slaughtered for the sake of a thanks offering is unfit, let the Braita teach that a thanks offering that was slaughtered for the sake of another's thanks offering is unfit, and one could infer that all the more so a peace offering slaughtered for the sake of a thanks offering is unfit. Shlamim l'shem todah dinetz tzrich leis al kedai tachamina. Mitodah kruya shlamim nami kruyin todah. V'chi shachit lehu l'shem todah dikashru kamash melan. The Gemara answers, it was necessary for the Braita to specify a case where a peace offering was slaughtered for the sake of his own thanks offering. Otherwise, it might enter your mind to say that since a thanks offering is called a peace offering is called a thanks offering as well. And therefore, when one slaughters a peace offering for the sake of a thanks offering, it should be fit. Therefore, the Braita teaches us that it is not the case. Rava says a sin offering that one offered for the sake of another sin offering, he was obligated to bring fit, but if one slaughtered it for the sake of burnt offering, it is unfit. My time, what's the reason? What is the reason for this distinction? The merciful one states in the Torah, and slaughter it for a sin offering, Leviticus 4:33. And therefore, as long as 4:33, that came up in the PL 89 today, box 33, today's box 33. 4:33 equals 33 from PL 89. Leviticus 4:33, and slaughtered for a sin offering, and therefore, as long as a sin offering was slaughtered for the sake of sin offering, even another sin offering. Okay, let's, where were we here? A sin offering that was slaughtered for the sake of this. Let's go back here. It was necessary for the Braita to specify a case where a peace offering was slaughtered for the sake of its own thanks offering. Otherwise, it might enter your mind to say this is a thanks offering. It's called a peace offering. I think we went through this. A peace offering is called a thanks offering as well. And therefore, when one slaughters a peace offering for the sake of a thanks offering, it should be fit. Therefore, the Braita teaches us that this is not the case. Rava says a sin offering that one slaughtered for the sake of another sin offering that he was obligated to bring is fit, but if one slaughtered it for the sake of a burnt offering, it was unfit. My time v'shachados l'chados amachmane. It's very abstract. I mean, how do you know what he was thinking? I guess he has to confess that I was thinking that I was going to slaughter it on behalf of an Ola. I mean, who does that? I don't know. I guess you're asking just technical things, but it's just very not relatable for me. And these things, it's like you're going to someone's mind and you're saying he is slaughtering something for the sake of something else. I mean, I don't even come near slaughtering anything for the sake of anything. I mean, I don't even know what I can compare this up to, but anyway, my time. What is the reason for this distinction? The merciful one states in the Torah, and slaughter it for a sin offering, Leviticus 4:33. Right? Mishpacha 4:33. And therefore, as long as a sin offering was slaughtered for the sake of a sin offering, even if another's sin offering, it is fit. But if it was slaughtered for the sake of a burnt offering, it is unfit. And Rava says a sin offering that one slaughtered for a person other than its owner, but who nevertheless was obligated to bring a sin offering is unfit. But if one slaughtered it for one who was obligated to bring a burnt offering, it is fit. My time v'chiper olav velo al chaveiro chaveiro domin didei b'mechuyev kapara kamoto. What is the reason for this distinction? The Torah states, and he shall be forgiven, Leviticus 4:26, indicating that it must be specifically he parallel means atone for, and he will be atoned for. It's better because it made it clear. And he shall be atoned for, indicating that it must specifically he the owner, who shall be forgiven, and not another person. And the other person to whom this is referring, with regard to whom the offering is disqualified, is presumably similar to the owner in that he is also obligated to achieve atonement similar to the owner. This I can say, I think. The word atonement has a numerical value of 107, and the word the Messiah equals 107. How did that happen? Similar to the owner by bringing a sin offering, whereas if the other person is obligated to bring a burnt offering and not a sin offering, this disqualification does not apply. And Rava said a sin offering that one slaughtered for a person who is not obligated to bring anything is unfit, and there is no person among the Jewish people who is not obligated to bring an offering for violating a positive mitzvah. Therefore, the one for whom he slaughtered the offering is considered one who was obligated to bring a sin offering. And Rava says that a sin offering atones for those obligated to bring a burnt offering for violating a positive mitzvah due to an a fortiori inference. If a sin offering atones for those who are liable for transgressions, for which one receives excision from the world to come, if he performs them intentionally, all the more so, is it not clear that it atones for those liable for failing to fulfill a positive mitzvah? The Gemara asks, is this to say that the violation of a positive mitzvah is of the same type as the sins atoned for by a sin offering? But doesn't Rava say that a sin offering that one slaughtered for a person other than its owner, but who was obligated to bring a sin offering, is unfit? But it was slaughtered for a person who is obligated to bring a burnt offering, it is fit, as he is not obligated to provide a similar atonement, given that burnt offerings atone for violations of positive mitzvot. Apparently, such atonement is of a different type than atonement of the transgression of prohibitions. And now we turn to 7b, which we will do, God willing, after the break. Continue with 7b on the top. Continuing on 7b, top of the page, the words mikva, mikiv'a, lo mechapra, mikuvya, mechapra. The Gemara answers, a sin offering does not atone for violating a positive mitzvah by its essence, since prohibitions and positive mitzvot are not of the same type, but it atones for it incidentally. And Rava says, as for a burnt offering that one slaughtered not for its sake, it is still prohibited to sprinkle its blood not for its sake. Why is this so? If you wish, cite a verse. If you wish, propose a logical argument. The Gemara elaborates, if you wish, cite a verse, that which has gone out of your lips, you shall observe and do, according to what you have vowed freely to the Lord your God, even that which you have promised with your mouth. Deuteronomy 23:24, the derivation of his verse was explained into if you wish, propose a logical argument. Just because one deviated from protocol in its slaughter, shall he continue to deviate from protocol in the rest of the sacrificial process? This is, as it was stated in the beginning of the chapter 2a. And Rava says, with regard to a burnt offering that is brought by its owner's heirs after his death, if one slaughtered it with a deviation from the type of offering, meaning for the sake of another type of offering, it is unfit, meaning it does not satisfy the owner's obligation, and the heirs must therefore bring another offering. But if it was slaughtered with a deviation with regard to the owner, meaning for the sake of another person, it is fit, as the offering has no legal owner after its owner's death. Rav Pinchas berei Rav Ami amar, yesh ba'alim lachar mita. Amar le Rav Ashi Rav Pinchas berei Rav Ami, dafka amar yesh ba'alim ואכל מיתה, ובעינתויה לאחריתי אוי דילמד, איקה kama aseh gabe mechapra. And Rav Pinchas, son of Rav Ami, says that an offering has an owner after its owner's death, specifically the heir. Rav Ashi said, Rav Pinchas, son of Rav Ami, is the master saying that an offering actually has an owner after its owner's death, and that if it was slaughtered for the sake of the wrong owner, the heir must bring another burnt offering, contrary to the opinion of Rava? Or perhaps the master is merely saying that if the heir has several violations or of positive mitzvot, the offering atones for them. But still, if it was slaughtered for the sake of the wrong owner, the heir is not required to bring another offering. Okay? Amar le dafka ka'amina. Rav Pinchas said to him, I am saying that the heir is actually the owner, and if the offering was slaughtered for someone else, he must bring another offering. עבר על מצוות עשה ושב, לא זז משום עד שמוכלים לו, אלא שמע מן הדורון הוא. And Rava says a burnt offering is a gift, a doron to God. Its essential purpose is not atonement. Rava supports his assertion. What are the circumstances under which a burnt offering atones for violating a positive mitzvah? If one brings a burnt offering without repentance for his transgression, he may not sacrifice it at all, as the sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination, Proverbs 21:27. And if there is repentance, is it taught in Braita that if one violates a positive mitzvah and repents, God forgives him before he even moves from his place? If so, why is he required to bring an offering? Rather, conclude from it that a burnt offering is a gift that one brings in order to appease God even after he is forgiven. The Gemara states a mnemonic for this series of statements by Rava. A sin offering atones for who? A burnt offering after a gift. Okay. Tanya nami hachi amar Rabbi Shimon chatas lama ba'a techaper ela lema ba'a lifnei ola lepraklit shenichnas ritza praklit nichnas doron acharahav. Praklit is an advocate. Let's see, the gematria of praklit is going to be 429. Okay. This last statement of Rava is also taught in the Braita. Rabbi Shimon said, for what purpose is a sin offering brought? The Gemara interrupts, for what purpose is it brought? Is it not brought to atone for a transgression? Rather, Rabbi Shimon clearly meant, for what reason is it brought before a burnt offering in all circumstances where both are brought? Rabbi Shimon answered, it is comparable to an advocate, praklit, who enters before the king to convince him to pardon the defendant. Once the advocate has appeased the king, the gift is brought in after him. Chutz min Pesach lechatas kule, Pesach min halal. The Mishnah teaches that all offerings are fit, even if slaughtered not for their own sake, except for the Paschal offering and the sin offering. The Gemara asks, from where do we derive that a Paschal offering is required to be slaughtered for its sake? Dichtiv shemar et chodesh aviv asita Pesach shiyu kol asiyotav l'shem Pesach. The Gemara answers, it is derived from a verse that says, as is written, observe the month of the spring and offer the Paschal offering, Deuteronomy 16:1, teaching that all of the actions of the Paschal offering and all of its sacrificial rites must be performed for the sake of the Paschal offering. The Gemara asks, we found a source for the halacha that derivation from the type of offering is prohibited. From where do we derive that deviation with regard to the owner is also prohibited? The Gemara answers that this is derived from a verse as is written, and you shall say, it is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, Exodus 20:27, which indicates that the slaughter must be performed for the sake of the Paschal offering. If the verse is not necessary in order to derive the matter of deviation from the type of offering, as the halacha is derived from Deuteronomy 16:1, apply it to the matter of deviation with regard to the owner. The Gemara asks, we found the source for the mitzvah to sacrifice the Paschal offering for its sake and for the sake of its owner. From where do we derive that these intentions are indispensable, and if lacking, disqualify the offering? Amar Krav Zevach Pesach Lashem Elokecha Begomer. The Gemara answers, the verse states, and you shall sacrifice the Paschal offering unto the Lord your God of the flock and the herd, Deuteronomy 16:2, by repeating the mitzvah to sacrifice the Paschal offering for its sake and for the sake of its owner. The Torah indicates that these two intentions are both indispensable to the sacrificial process. Maskif larav safra, hay v'zavach lachi, hazeasa, hay mipoile, k'de Rabbi Nachman, d'amar Nachman, amar Rav Avu. Minayin amoto Pesach shekarev shlamim, shneimar v'zavach l'Pesach Hashem, Elohecha. Son of a God. V'alo en Pesach ba'ela mina kavasim u'mina izim. מכאן למותר הפסח שיהא לדבר הבא מן הצאן ומן הבקר ומי נהיו שלמים. But Sofer objects to this. Does this verse, and you shall sacrifice, come to teach this halakha? It is necessary for the statement of Rav Nachman, as Rav Nachman says, that Rav Bar Abu says. From where is it derived that a leftover Paschal offering, an animal consecrated but not ultimately sacrificed on Passover Eve, is sacrificed as a peace offering afterward? It is derived from that which is stated, and you shall sacrifice the Passover offering unto the Lord your God of the flock and of the herd. The verse is difficult, but it is the Paschal offering brought only from the lambs and from the goats. From here it is derived that a leftover Paschal offering should be sacrificed as an offering brought both from the flock and from the herd. And what is that? It is a peace offering. Okay? וזבחת פסח, לכדר נחמן, שמונת חשבים לביצוע משין הקודש, למען זה מבטח בשין בעלים, למצווה הוא לעכב בין האכל והאכל. Rather, Rav Sofer says that the verses should be expounded as follows. The verse, and you shall sacrifice the Paschal offering, teaches the statement of Rav Nachman, that a leftover Paschal offering is sacrificed as a peace offering. The verse, observe the month of the spring and offer the Paschal offering, Deuteronomy 16:1, teaches that there is a mitzvah to sacrifice the Paschal offering without deviation from the type of offering. The verse, and you shall say it is sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, Exodus 12:27, teaches that there is a mitzvah to slaughter it without deviation with regard to the owner. The term "it is" in the latter verse teaches that both here and there, meaning with regard to both the offering and the owner, proper intent is indispensable. Rav Sofer continues, and we found a source for slaughter. From where do we derive that other sacrificial rites must also be performed for the sake of the owner, or for the offering is disqualified? Since the Torah revealed and this intention is indispensable to the proper slaughter of the Paschal offering, is thereby revealed that it is critical to proper performance of the other rites as well. Rav Ashi Amar, Rav Ashi says, we do not say that since the Torah revealed that this halacha is indispensable to slaughter, is thereby revealed that it is indispensable to the other rites as well. Rather, from where do we derive that it is indispensable to the other sacrificial rites? It is derived from a verse as it is written, "This is the law of the burnt offering, and of the meal offering, and of the sin offering, and of the guilt offering, and of the consecration offering, and of the sacrifice of peace offerings." Leviticus 7:37, indicating that all offerings must, like a peace offering, be sacrificed for their own sake. B'Tanya, b'Yom Tzavaseh b'nei Yisrael la'akriv korbanim Zeh b'chol ma'aser v'Pesach, and it is taught in the Braita in the verse, in the day that he commanded the children of Israel to present their offerings. Leviticus 7:38. This word offerings is referring to the newborn animal, the firstborn animal, the animal tithe, and the paschal offering, which are not mentioned in the previous verse. Hiki shokazu l'shlamim ma'ashlamim ben shinu kodesh u'ben shinu bailim be'inon l'mitzvah af kol ben shinu kodesh u'ben shinu bailim l'mitzvah. The text juxtaposes all types of offerings mentioned in both verses with the peace offering, indicating that just as one who sacrifices a peace offering is required to do so with proper intent, both concerning deviation from the offering and concerning deviation with regard to the owner. In addition, the halacha of proper intent is only as a mitzvah, not as an indispensable requirement. So too, in the case of any type of offering that must have a proper intent, both concerning deviation from the offering and concerning deviation with regard to the owner, the halacha of proper intent is only a mitzvah, as a mitzvah. Therefore, the mitzvah ab initio is derived from the halacha of a peace offering, and those verses mentioned earlier repeat the halacha to teach that it is indispensable with regard to slaughter. Okay? לעכב, משום שנאמר, הוא בזביחה אינו אלא לעכב. And the juxtaposition of the peace offering with the paschal offering includes that a paschal offering is similar to a peace offering in another respect, just as with regard to a peace offering. You do not distinguish between slaughter and the other rites with regard to the mitzvah ab initio of proper intent. So too, with regard to the paschal offering, do not distinguish between slaughter and the other sacrificial rites with regard to the halacha that proper intent is indispensable. Ela hulamali. Rather, the Gemara asks, since the indispensability of proper intent with regard to the paschal offering is derived from its juxtaposition with the peace offering, why do I need the term "it is" to be written in Exodus 12:27? What is derived from there? Ketanya ne'emar b'Pesach hu v'shchita le'akev, aval asham lo ne'emar bo hu ela le'achar haktarat imurin v'hu atzmo lo hukteru emurav kasher. The Gemara answers, this is written to teach that this requirement is indispensable only in the case of the paschal offering and not in the case of the guilt offering, as it is taught in Braita concerning the paschal offering. The term "it is" stated with regard to slaughter in Exodus 12:27 to teach that intent for the owner is indispensable, but concerning a guilt offering, the term "it is" stated only after the verse mentions the burning of the sacrificial portions, and since a guilt offering itself is fit even when its portions were not burned on the altar at all, intent for the sake of the owner at this point is certainly not indispensable. The Gemara asks, from where do we derive that if a sin offering is sacrificed for the sake of the wrong type of offering or one other than its owner is disqualified? The Gemara answers, it is derived from the verse, and it is written, and slaughter it for a sin offering. Leviticus 4:33, teaching that the slaughter must be performed for the sake of a sin offering. The Gemara asks, we found a source with regard to slaughter, but to where do we derive this with regard to the collection of the blood? So for that, we'll have to wait for tomorrow to get the answer, God willing. The Gemara answers, it is derived from this verse as is written. Hopefully we'll find it tomorrow.